Hey trainers, welcome back to Merged Zekrom. Today, I've got something truly exciting lined up for you. We're diving into a ranking that focuses on the heart and soul of every great Pokemon ROM hack, the storyline. We've all seen hacks that push gameplay to extremes with brutal difficulty, mega evolutions, regional forms, or brand new mechanics. But beyond all that, what really stays with us? It's the story, the way a game draws you in, makes you care about the characters, the villains, and the world you're journeying through. That's what separates a game you play once from a game you'll never forget. So in this ranking, we're breaking Pokemon ROM hacks into 3 main tiers: mid-tier, high tier, and the ultimate masterpiece tier. We'll go step by step, looking at how each hack handles its narrative and why it deserves its place. Let's begin with the mid-tier. First up, let's talk about Emerald Kaizo. This hack has built its entire reputation on being one of the hardest Pokemon games ever made. Every trainer battle is optimized, opponents have competitive level teams, and the AI forces you to think strategically at every turn. From a gameplay standpoint, it's brutal, punishing, and rewarding for those who love a true challenge. But if we focus strictly on the storyline, Emerald Kaizo another time picturing Take Many Risks. It essentially follows the same script as Pokemon Emerald, with the conflict between Team Aqua and Team Magma, the showdown involving Groudon and Kyogre, and eventually, the battle with Rayquaza to restore balance. It's a familiar journey, but without added twists or deeper narrative layers. That's not to say the story is bad, it's still the classic Hoenn adventure that many of us love. But when compared to other ROM hacks that take bold creative liberties with their storytelling, Emerald Kaizo feels more like a remixed challenge than a fresh narrative experience. That's why story-wise, it comfortably sits in the mid-tier fun and nostalgic, but nothing groundbreaking. Next in the mid-tier, we have Pokemon Flora Sky. This hack is a fan favorite for a lot of reasons. It gives us a brand new region, new events, and tries to weave an original story centered around Shamey, with larger conflicts involving Groudon and Kyogre. On paper, that sounds like the recipe for something amazing, and to its credit, Flora Sky does deliver moments of freshness that you won't find in a standard Pokemon game. Exploring a new region always feels exciting, and the hack adds plenty of encounters that tie directly into the main storyline. However, the pacing can sometimes feel inconsistent. Too many legendaries are thrown into the narrative without enough build-up, which makes the plot feel cluttered. Instead of carefully layering its story beats, Flora Sky often jumps from one major event to another, leaving little time for characters or arcs to breathe. Still, there's no denying it's a fun game to play, and the effort to go beyond the typical formula deserves credit. But compared to hacks with tighter writing and stronger character development, Flora Sky falls short of being truly memorable. That's why it's another solid entry in the mid-tier, creative and enjoyable, but lacking the polish that elevates a storyline to greatness. Now let's move into the high tier, starting with Pokemon Dark Rising. If Emerald Kaizo was about difficulty, Dark Rising is about drama. From the very beginning, you're thrust into a world that feels more like a high-stakes anime arc than a traditional Pokemon adventure. You're not just another trainer trying to be the champion, you're part of a prophecy, connected to legendary Pokemon, and destined to fight against an overwhelming evil. The tone of Dark Rising is darker and more intense than most Rom-Hacks. The villains are threatening, the story beats are bold, and the dialogue carries a sense of urgency that keeps pulling you forward. There is a real sense of danger in the narrative, as if every step you take is part of a larger destiny. That said, sometimes the writing leans into being over the top, almost melodramatic. But for many players, that's part of its charm. It makes the journey feel larger than life, and it gives you that anime-style adrenaline rush where every battle feels like the fate of the world is at stake. Dark Rising isn't flawless, but it dares to push storytelling in a direction few hacks attempt, and that's what makes it stand tall in the high tier. It's bold, memorable, and definitely one of the more unique narrative experiences you can play. Right alongside it in the high tier, we have Pokemon Gaia. Where Dark Rising thrives on intensity, Gaia shines through its subtlety and immersion. Instead of focusing on prophecy or destiny, Gaia grounds its story in history and archaeology. You play in a region filled with ruins, ancient civilizations, and mysteries waiting to be uncovered. What makes Gaia stand out is how naturally it integrates its lore into the gameplay. You're not just battling through gyms and trainers, you're uncovering secrets of a world that feels alive, rich with history, and deeply connected to your journey. The pacing is tight, the writing is coherent, and everything you do feels like it's contributing to a bigger picture. The characters from gym leaders to NPCs often feel more fleshed out than what you'd expect in a typical ROM hack, giving you a sense of connection that many fan games struggle to achieve. Gaia proves that a Pokemon story and nothing need to be loud or dramatic to be impactful. Sometimes, being smart, thoughtful, and immersive is enough to leave a lasting impression. For all these reasons, Gaia is one of the most respected story-driven hacks out there, and it more than deserves its place in the high tier. Let's begin the masterpiece tier with Pokemon Radical Red. Radical Red is often recognized for its insane gameplay difficulty, updated mechanics, and competitive-style battles that keep even seasoned veterans on edge. But what many overlook is how well it handles the classic Kanto storyline. Instead of rewriting everything, Radical Red refines and reimagines the original Kanto journey. Rival interactions feel sharper, gym leader battles are presented with more personality, and the pacing is designed to keep you constantly engaged. It feels like Kanto, but with a modern coat of paint, as if Game Freak themselves came back and made a hardcore, story-conscious version of Fire Red. It understands out a brand new epic tale, but the execution is so tight and the presentation so polished that the original storyline feels elevated to masterpiece quality. Radical Red proves that sometimes perfecting the old can be just as impactful as creating something completely new. Next in the Masterpiece tier is Pokemon Blazed Glazed. If Radical Red is about refinement, Blazed Glazed is about ambition. This hack takes the concept of a Pokemon journey and expands it into something much larger. You are not tied to just one region, you explore multiple regions, each with its own villains, challenges, and legendary Pokemon that play a central role in the unfolding events. The scale of Blazed Glazed makes the story feel epic. You're not just battling gym leaders and moving toward the league, you're constantly being pulled into major conflicts, saving regions, and uncovering mysteries that stretch across multiple worlds. Yes, the story can sometimes feel a little scattered, because there's just so much packed into it. But that's also part of its identity, a sprawling, adventurous tale that makes you feel like your trainer is at the center of something massive. It's ambitious, it's engaging, and for its sheer scope, Blazed Glazed earns its place as a true masterpiece of Rom-Hack storytelling. And finally, we come to the crown jewel, Pokemon Unbound. This game is the definition of a storytelling masterpiece in the ROM-hacking world. From the moment you start, you can tell that every detail from the characters to the cutscenes to the side quests has been crafted with care and purpose. The plot itself is darker and more mature, tackling themes and conflicts that go far beyond the usual stop the evil team and save the day. The villains feel like real characters with believable motives. The world feels alive, full of lore, secrets, and hidden stories waiting to be uncovered. Even side quests contribute meaningfully, expanding the region and immersing you in ways most official games don't even attempt. The dialogue flows naturally, cutscenes are cinematic, and the pacing keeps you invested from start to finish. Unbound isn't just a Pokemon hack, it's an experience. It proves that fan-made projects can rival and even surpass the official games in terms of narrative quality. That's why, without a doubt, Pokemon Unbound sits at the very top of the Masterpiece tier. It's the gold standard for what a Pokemon ROM-hack storyline can achieve. And that completes our ranking of Pokemon ROM-hacks based on their storylines from mid to Masterpiece. To quickly recap, in the mid-tier we had Emerald Kaizo and Flora Sky. In the high tier we looked at Dark Rising and Gaia. And in the Masterpiece tier we placed Radical Red, Blazed Glazed, and Unbound. Each of these games has its strengths, but for me, the real question is which one captured your heart the most. Was it the raw challenge of Emerald Kaizo, the mystery of Gaia, or the cinematic brilliance of Unbound? Let me know in the comments below. If you enjoyed this breakdown, hit that like button, subscribe to Merged Zekrom for more Pokemon content, and as always, stay legendary!
Sitting